you see Elvis the first time? Do you see him early on at some of the gospel conventions or through the office in Memphis? Or was the first meeting when you had to prepare for the international show?
Well, the first time was when my father was running for a state legislature and in Tennessee, and he needed a car. He needed a car that was impressive.
Okay.
And we didn't have an impressive car. So because Elvis knew the family, the Blackwoods, Daddy called Elvis up and said, "Could I borrow one of your cars?" And so we went out to Graceland, and I went with Daddy when he went out there. So it was my first chance to meet him. It was probably about 54 or something like that. But so we walked in there and said hello, and he said hello to me, and so we got to ride in that Cadillac right down Main Street, along with all the other candidates. The only difference was the one that we were in was pink.
That gave a lot of votes back then, didn't it? You know. Okay, so that's a cool story. So he borrowed you the pink Cadillac.
Yeah, pink Cadillac.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the next phone call?
The next phone call?
Or meeting or letter or message through the
we saw him several times after that when he would come to the Ellis Auditorium there in Memphis, and there would be gospel concerts there in the auditorium, and he would slip in the side door, and I saw him again there. I was still a young kid, but I got to see him again. But when we started with Elvis was when he called us in '69, and that's when things started to happen for us.
But let me ask you something. While we were right there in the '60s, you know, Elvis with the hips and the movements in his body back in the '50s. How did the gospel, not Blackwood family, but the gospel union, the environment, how do they look at Elvis?
I don't know how they looked at that. I think they probably weren't huge Elvis fans. The gospel music fans were not big Elvis fans. Although they liked him, I don't think it was the kind of music they would have in their house. But Elvis came from a very fundamental Christian background. You know, his mother was a Christian.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of ties to gospel music that I think the gospel music fans really appreciated. And I don't know if you, once you knew Elvis, you knew that all the gyrations and everything were not to elicit some kind of response from the people. He was just feeling the music.
Exactly.
And it wasn't anything sexual about it at all. It was just basically, I love the song and I can't be still. And he had this, he had all this training in karate, so all of that entered into it.
It was the
too.
movements, yeah.
Yeah, the movements, all that was a part of it.
You know, real quick, just to add to that, Elvis loved a man called the Big Chief, who was the bass singer for the Statesman Quartet. And the Statesmen were really great rhythm singers, weren't they? And Elvis, of course, we know, was a great rhythm singer. And the Big Chief, now this is back in the 40s, when the Big Chief got up to sing, he was up there and he was shaking that leg.
Yeah.
And when you watch, and you can find this on YouTube, old clips of the Statesmen, you're going to see some of Elvis's moves that he just copped right from the Big Chief. Yeah. And, of course, one of his other big heroes, of course, was Jake Hess, who founded the Imperials. And Jake Hess was a big impact on Elvis. And the gospel music fans, I think, don't you think it kind of started to change when he did the gospel album?
I think it did, yeah. When he started doing his gospel records, I think it changed for people. And they really warmed up to him.